Whispered interpreting. In whispered interpreting, interpreter sits behind the client or uses a headset and silently whispers the interpretation to the ears of the person. Whispered interpreting is simultaneous, not consecutive, although no booth is used and therefore whisper interpreting is only suitable for very short interventions. Whispered interpreting is simultaneous interpreting. One interpreter cannot work alone for longer than an hour. If your event is longer, you should book 2 interpreters. Some interpreters prefer mobile interpreting equipment called an infoport or simulport to facilitate whispered interpreting services. Mobile equipment adds comfort to whispering experience because it allows the interpreter to work from a distance instead of continuously leaning forward to the ears of the client. Whispered interpreting usually comes in a combination of consecutive and liaison interpreting. As the interpreter accompanies a delegation, multiple modes of interpreting may be needed for different occasions. Interpreter does consecutive for a one-on-one meeting, simultaneous when there is a larger audience and longer interventions, and may use both consec and shootage during a bilateral meeting, consec when her/his client talks and shootage when others are speaking. Mobile interpreting equipment may be set up to work in different languages and even take relay from another interpreter. In such a scenario, interpreters can simultaneously work in multiple languages. This kind of setup should be restricted to interpretation of adventure games of defense industry drills which often take place in the wild. When planned well, mobile interpreting equipment saves time during a bilateral meeting. In a successful scenario, both delegations use headsets tuned into different channels. Interpreter switches from one channel to the other and offers simultaneous interpreting. This mode is not for regular meetings nor for an inexperienced interpreter. Interpreter spends much greater effort to do this task. ISO standard simultaneous interpreting equipment is a norm for all other events. ISO standards have been developed in coordination with academics, equipment developers, conference organizers and interpreters themselves. Adhering to standards assures best conference interpreting performance.